Deep in the countryside stood Canterville Chase, a house with a secret so old even silence refused to stay there. For centuries, no one dared to live in it, until one American family decided ghosts were not worth worrying about. Imagine moving into a new house and being told it comes with a ghost. Now imagine replying, "That's fine. Does it come with furniture too?" You're listening to Kahani Bar. I am Payal Gandhi Hoon, and today's story is The Canterville Ghost by Oscar Wilde. Mr. Hiram B. Otis, the American minister, bought Canterville Chase, although everyone told him that it was a very foolish thing to do, as there was no doubt at all that the place was haunted. Indeed, Lord Canterville himself, who was a man of the most punctilious honor, had felt it his duty to mention the fact to Mr. Otis when they came to discuss terms. "We have not cared to live in the place ourselves," said Lord Canterville, "since my grand-aunt, the Dowager Duchess of Bolton, was frightened into a fit, from which she never really recovered, by two skeleton hands being placed on her shoulders as she was dressing for dinner. And I feel bound to tell you, Mr. Otis, that the ghost has been seen by several living members of my family." "My lord," answered the minister, "I will take the furniture and the ghost at a valuation. I come from a modern country where we have everything that money can buy, and with all our spry young fellows painting the old world red and carrying off your best actors and prima donnas, I reckon that if there were such a thing as a ghost in Europe, we'd have it at home in a very short time in one of our public museums." "I fear that the ghost exists," said Lord Canterville, smiling, "though it may have resisted the overtures of your enterprising impresarius. It has been well known for 3 centuries, since 1584 in fact, and always makes its appearance before the death of any member of our family." "Well, so does the family doctor, for that matter, Lord Canterville. But there is no such thing, sir, as a ghost, and I guess the laws of nature are not going to be suspended from the British aristocracy." "You are certainly very natural in America," answered Lord Canterville, who did not quite understand Mr. Otis's last observation. "And if you don't mind a ghost in the house, it is all right. Only you must remember, I warned you." A few weeks after this, the purchase was completed, and at the close of the season, the minister and his family went down to Canterville Chase. Mrs. Otis had been, in her maiden days, Miss Lucretia R. Tuppen of West 53rd Street, and was a very handsome middle-aged woman with fine eyes and a superb profile. Indeed, many American ladies, when they leave their native land, adopt an appearance of chronic ill health, under the impression that it is a form of European refinement. But Mrs. Otis had never fallen into this mistake. She had a magnificent constitution and a really wonderful amount of animal spirits. Their eldest son, christened Washington by his parents in a moment of patriotism, was a fair-haired, rather good-looking young man. Miss Virginia E. Otis was a little girl of 15, lithe and lovely as a fawn. Then there were the twins, commonly called stars and stripes, as they were always getting into scrapes. As the family approached the house, the sky became suddenly overcast, and a strange stillness seemed to hold the atmosphere. "I don't like this," said Virginia quietly. "Nonsense," cried Mr. Otis. "We're not going to be influenced by the weather." But at that moment, a big drop of rain fell. When they entered the library, Mrs. Umney, the old housekeeper, pointed to a dull red stain on the floor near the fireplace. "That is the blood of Lady Eleanor de Canterville, who was murdered on that very spot by her husband, Sir Simon de Canterville, in 1575. Blood has been spilled on that spot and cannot be removed." "That is all nonsense," cried Washington. "Pinkerton's Champion Stain Remover and Paragon Detergent will clean it up in no time." And before the terrified housekeeper could interfere, he had fallen upon his knees and rapidly scoured the floor. In a few moments, no trace of blood stain could be seen. "Americans are wonderfully clever," said Mrs. Otis. But the next morning, when they came down to breakfast, the blood stain had reappeared. This happened every morning, and each time Washington removed it with one of his many American detergents. The ghost was much annoyed. Sir Simon de Canterville had haunted the house for centuries. He had frightened duchesses, driven clergymen mad, and caused old ladies to faint dead away. He was therefore naturally extremely indignant that an American family should treat him with such disrespect. One night, he determined to make a grand appearance. He put on a rusty armor, let his chains clank horribly, and glided down the corridor with hollow groans. Suddenly, the door opened, and Mr. Otis came out in his dressing gown. "My dear sir," said Mr. Otis calmly, "I really must insist on your oiling those chains, and have brought you a small bottle of Tammany Rising Sun Lubricator." He placed the bottle on the table and went back to bed. The ghost stood there in speechless fury. Never in his illustrious career had he been so insulted. The twins, meanwhile, made his life miserable by setting traps, throwing pillows, and firing pea shooters at him. Night after night, he tried to frighten them, but failed. At last, he became nervous and miserable. He stopped appearing in the corridors and spent most of his time hiding in secret passages. Only Virginia, gentle and kind, felt pity for him. One afternoon, she found him sitting in a little secret chamber, looking old and tired. "Poor, poor ghost," she said softly. "Have you no place where you can sleep?" "Far away beyond the pine woods," he answered sadly. "There's a little garden. There the grass grows long and deep. There are white stars of the hemlock flower, and the nightingale sings all night long. There death must lift me, and there I shall sleep." Virginia's eyes filled with tears. "But why have you not gone there?" "Because I have sinned," said the ghost. "I killed my wife. Then her brothers starved me to death. For 300 years I had not slept. Only a pure and innocent girl can help me. You must pray for me." Virginia trembled, but she was brave. She agreed. That evening, when the family discovered she was missing, there was great alarm. They searched everywhere. Finally, at midnight, Virginia returned, pale but peaceful, carrying a little box of jewels. She told them she had been with the ghost and had prayed for him. "He was very wicked," she said, "but he was very sorry, and now he is dead and at peace." She led them to a hidden chamber behind the wall. There, chained to the floor, sat the skeleton of Sir Simon de Canterville. At last, his restless soul had found rest. The next day, he was buried in the moonlit garden beneath the yew tree. The Duke of Cheshire, who had long admired Virginia, stood beside her. "Virginia," he whispered, "you gave the ghost peace. Will you give me your heart?" She blushed and smiled. Years later, after she married the Duke, she visited the old garden again. Her husband asked her gently, "Can you tell me what happened between you and the ghost?" "No," said Virginia. "I can never tell. He taught me what life is and what death signifies and why love is stronger than both." And she remained very grave for a moment while the moonlight silvered the quiet garden. And so the ghost who had spent centuries trying to frighten the living was finally saved by the kindness of a child who chose compassion over fear. Sir Simon discovered too late that pride and cruelty leave only loneliness behind. But even the oldest sorrow can find peace when met with forgiveness. Perhaps that is the true haunting of life. Not ghosts in old houses, but the weight of our own regrets. And perhaps the only thing powerful enough to set any soul free is love. Gentle enough to forgive and brave enough to understand. You were listening to The Canterville Ghost by Oscar Wilde. Brought to you by Kahani Bar and Pixel to Pixel. Until next time, this is Payal Gandhi Hoon signing off. If you like our stories, do like, subscribe, and share.